here today. Can you hear me? Yes. Thank you for the World Affairs Council of Harrisburg for having me. I'm humbled. And thank you, Dr. Davis, for inviting me to be the keynote speaker. I'm going to go off script a little bit for a second here. You said the topic is her voice. And how many of us today feel hopeless and voiceless, right? I'm thinking of the speaker, the Indian thinker Spivak, and she asked the question in a famous essay called, "Can the Subaltern Speak?" And you just reminded me of the value of sisterhood, because the subaltern may not speak in some spaces, but it's spaces like this where sisters stand together, irrespective of gender, race, ethnicity, citizenship, religion, ability, class. This is where we can hear each other. And I'm so grateful to be given this space to be speaking today about the Middle East. It doesn't matter how many degrees I have. It doesn't matter. What matters today is the humanity that we all need to be thinking of. This is not about me. This is about the people that I represent today. I carry them in my heart, and I wouldn't be here today if they weren't what pushed me to be the best I can be. I was asked to speak about the Middle East in 10-15 minutes. How can I speak in 10-15 minutes about a space that American media tell you is full of hate, violence, people who hate each other, when in reality I see it not only as home, but I see it as space of beauty, diversity, in history, culture, religion, ethnic diversity, languages. It's home to over 200 million Middle Eastern women, beautifully diverse. So there's no way I can do justice to all of these women. No way. How can I speak about that? I'm actually humbled to represent them. And I cannot truly emphasize the beauty that I see in every Middle Eastern sister. Every one of them. Before I talk about the Middle East and Middle Eastern women, I have a few political remarks. Get ready. Nothing is more offensive to me when I hear American interest in the region. It is an expression that I find highly offensive. It is the equivalent of hegemony, capitalism, and colonization for me. We should not be speaking of American interest in the region. The Middle East is a place that has children like our own here, that have dreams, hopes, love. My nephews, I'm thinking of my 4 nephews. One of them likes to draw, one of them likes to paint, one of them is a phenomenal drummer, and one of them likes his cat. He's an animal lover. So why should I be thinking about American interests in the Middle East? This is a sentence that means I don't see people, I see oil. You are a US dollar for me, you can live or die, and it's highly offensive. The other thing I want to say, and I welcome any discussion on Israel-Palestine. I want to break the taboo here. But I reject statements like, so much hate, very simplistic. Why can't people live together in peace? Again, so simplistic. They are terrorists, simplistic. My favorite one, especially here in central Pennsylvania, is, I do not read the news or watch the news, but let me tell you about the Middle East. And it's typically a white man telling me about the Middle East and what I should think about the Middle East. That same low-informed voter is making decisions for all of us here in the room. These oversimplifications are extremely harmful. They assume that all of us are violent. Specifically, I'm speaking here about my community, which is the Arab community, and we're somehow born evil, that we're born to hate, we're born to hate each other. It's such a simplistic view of the Middle East and a binary view of the Middle East, where there's no nuance. Do you know that Arabs are Semite as well? I am a daughter of Abraham as well. Let that sink in. Am I proud of what brothers and sisters of Abraham are doing? No. No. Can we do better? Absolutely. Here are a few things to think of. Targeting civilians, no matter who they are, where they come from, is simply unlawful. Whether it's in Cuba, Venezuela, whether it's in Israel, Lebanon, Iran, Palestine, Egypt, Sudan, it doesn't matter. It's unlawful. Annexation and occupation of land is unlawful under international law. Israel is committing a genocide in Palestine. It's committing war crimes in Lebanon, and the US is complicit. And my kid who's standing here, and all of our children, one day will have to pay at least the financial bill for all this war. Where do women of the Middle East stand in this? Where are they? Again, how to summarize 200 million women, right? So instead of summarizing 200 million women, I decided to tell you stories of real women that I know in the Middle East and what they're doing today. I'll refrain from saying their name except for one, to protect their identity. I know an Iranian woman who was a political prisoner for 3 years. She was raped and tortured in Iran under the Iranian regime. Today, she's a refugee in the UK. She still speaks against the Iranian regime, and she still speaks for peace. She does not believe that democracy is established by bombing. We've seen American lessons in democracy in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Libya. It does not work. I know an Israeli woman. She's actually Palestinian, and her village got swallowed when the state of Israel was created in 1948. So on paper, she's Israeli. Ethnically, she's Palestinian Muslim. She has had 5 miscarriages. We suspect that the Israeli government was engaged in her village in forced sterilization, which is the US government is engaged in at the borders with Latina women and indigenous women. Today, by God's mercy, she had a beautiful daughter. She's also a teacher of human rights, and she teaches her students to speak up for human rights and dignity for all. Her students got recently attacked by settlers in Israel, and she still refuses to speak for hate. She still teaches her daughter to love and her students to love, because that's how they win. That's how hate wins, right? If we reciprocate with hatred. I know a 92-year-old woman from South Lebanon. She's veiled. She's one of my favorite humans. She's veiled, has no teeth, because grandma's, 92. She doesn't want to go to see the dentist anymore. She's older than the state of Israel. She's 92. And she received evacuation orders from the Israeli government. She refused to evacuate. And when we're telling her over the phone, Grandma, you need to evacuate, this is what she tells me. I'm older than that state. I'm not leaving my village. And if they come at me, I'll throw stones at them. Weapons versus grandma. I know a Muslim woman, also from south of Lebanon, who has a cat shelter. She refused to evacuate without her 40 cats. On the phone, she told me that God gave everyone, and animals and humans, souls, and she's responsible for these souls equally. Let that sink in. We have humans killing humans, children, and this woman is refusing to leave without her cats. I know Lebanese nuns in a convent in South Lebanon also sheltering Muslim families who have been displaced by bombs. They told me that the biggest threat to them is not Islam. It's actually white Christian nationalism. Where is Christ in all this hate and violence? He's certainly not in the 3 far-right governments we're seeing these days. He is in every displaced, wounded, hurt, killed, and suffering injustice in the world. I know Lebanese women who refused to evacuate to France. Her husband did leave, she refused to leave because she stands for the wildlife in Lebanon. She speaks for the trees, orchard, bees, cedars, rivers, and mountains. She's documenting the ecocide in Lebanon, and she's writing article upon article about the white phosphorus and the banned weapon that Israel is using in South Lebanon at her own risk. I know a Lebanese woman who is a civil engineer. She works in a heavily male-dominated field, and her main concern right now is how to rebuild bombed bridges so we remain connected to our own villages. I know two amazing nurses who I'm proud to call my sisters back home. One is actually in Lebanon, one is actually in Abu Dhabi. They treat the injured who come through the emergency rooms, irrespective of who they are, what religion they are, what citizenship they are. It doesn't matter. They're there to heal the wounded. I know an Armenian woman from Jerusalem who was forced out of historical Palestine, and even today, in her moments of dementia, she asks to go home to Jerusalem, a place where she can never go back to. Lastly, let me tell you about a 76-year-old woman who's dear to my heart. She got married, she was 25 years old when the war started in Lebanon. When the war started in Lebanon, it was basically everyone in Lebanon. Israel, Palestine, Syria, United States, France, Iran, you name it, it was there. Aliens, maybe even. She had dreams for her family, and none of these dreams, she had big hopes for her family. It would be wrong to say none of the dreams came true, but they came true at a heavy price. In 1982, Beirut was under a siege. Israel imposed a siege on Beirut. 19,000 Lebanese died in the Israeli siege of Beirut. President Reagan called Prime Minister of Israel at the time, and he told him, his words, not mine, you should stop the Holocaust in Lebanon right away. Instead of the world being offended by the death of fellow humans, they were offended by the use of the word Holocaust. In 1988, as war is raging, we call all these different factions. I was 7 years old. I was crossing with this woman in different spaces and different borders, different towns. And a man looks at my mom, at this woman, and he tells her, "You shall not pass." She has had enough. She climbs a tank. That woman climbs a tank, looks at all the soldiers and militiamen at that moment and tell them, and I quote, "No man shall tell me what to do." I thought we were dead. I thought we were dead. But that woman had so much faith in God and her belief in human rights that she stood up on a tank and told a militia guy, "No man shall tell me what to do." In 1982, to go back, during the siege of Beirut, that woman smuggled 3 children under the age of 5 outside Beirut into safety on foot. I was an infant. The oldest was under 5. Another time, this same woman shoved police officers and military personnel out of her way because she heard that my school was bombed. When she got to the shelter, she found me and my brother in a dark space in a shed, holding each other's hands. It wasn't the security or firefighters who got to me, it was that woman. A few days ago, we in my Orthodox church, we celebrated the Annunciation Day, which is the day where Angel Gabriel asked Mary if she would agree to carry Christ. It's a holy day in my church. I believe many of us in the faith, in different faiths, really believe in that day. This woman that I'm telling you about got blessed oil from church, and in the dead of the night, at the age of 76, went out to the village and painted the sign of the cross on people's houses. You don't have to share my faith to understand that this woman, in her belief, thought that there's no God in this war, and that the simple sign of the cross somehow is going to be a salvation to people. Irrespective if they were Muslim or Christian, it didn't matter. To her, it's only God that's going to save us from this. This woman's name to many is Giselle. But to me, she's mama. To me, she's mama. Mama today is not listening to evacuation orders from the Israeli government or to the news. When I call her, if I manage to get her, she has her prayer book. It's really funny because on the one hand, she's cursing and cussing everyone. On the other hand, she has a holy book in her hand. And it's just like she tells me there's no God in any of what's happening. There's no humanity in any of what's happening. And that she refuses to listen to godless men leading this war. These are the women of the Middle East that I know. They're beautiful, powerful, educated, resilient, loving, compassionate, and full of empathy. In Lebanese, we have a saying, إيدك عنه وما عليك منه. Leave it be, it does not need you. Women of the Middle East do not need the United States to save it, for we are an institution of women's rights.